Welcome back to Worlds Collide.
Yo, it's been a while, brother.
Yeah. Where you been?
If somebody want to ask these hurricanes what happened. We had to pause.
I would love to say that it was because of the hurricane, but thankfully we both came out unscathed. Unfortunately, the rest of the county did not.
Yeah, friends and family weren't so lucky. Extended family,
rocked.
extended friends.
It's really devastating. It's been probably the most real of any hurricane season of my entire life. Hearing that people, it's just brutal. Like, it's not just, losing all your things, because, you can just be like super zen about it and be like, it's okay. I didn't need the things.
I know.
So like just the logistics of like, where are we going to sleep?
This is what I'm not sure of is I thought the hurricane didn't actually hit directly Tampa Bay, but it did.
Didn't. No, it hit south, but we got the bands. We got the bands
to make her dance.
Bands to make her dance is what we got.
Okay.
So yeah, she got what we got. They hit south. They hit south. And unfortunately, yeah, I mean, it's brutal. We know like a couple of, literally Billy
Cash Grasser asked Billy, shout out, dude.
Shout out to Billy, who's just been like, poor guy, just been bouncing around.
Yeah. I used to call him Billy on the street. Now I can really call him Billy on the street.
For real on the street. Yeah. Anyway, they're gonna build back better.
Build back better.
But we don't know when is the problem.
No.
And so there's people who are just like absolutely fucked.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it's a crazy time.
But
that's
here's
okay.
the thing. I didn't know FEMA was cutting checks like that.
Yeah, dog.
All you hear on the news is that FEMA's handing out like $750 checks. That's just like, sorry this happened to you, here's a boost.
Yeah.
Then they hit you with the voucher that you get to stay in the hotels, which the problem is good luck finding a hotel because you and everybody else in town needs one.
Sure.
But then apparently they're just cutting checks.
Yeah.
I know somebody who got $15K.
Something is telling me that there might be something around the corner here. Is every time they print a lot of money, what happens?
A little economic collapse, perhaps?
On the watch of next week's president, I always say, may your candidate win.
May your candidate win. That's sweet. That's
right? That's what I say in yoga because I don't know what to say. May your candidate win.
Yeah, I think, it's looking like Trump's going to win.
Pito.
Yeah, it's looking like Pito's in.
Trumpito is in.
And I think, again, I stand firm by this. I think they want Trump to win.
On his watch.
And they're going to collapse the global economy on his watch.
You know what might be really cool, though, is that under his watch, if all those people, if he's bringing the Avengers or whatever they are, the whole team is coming with him, right? Tulsi Gabbard.
Yeah.
RFK Jr.
Yep.
Right. Who else do we have? Maybe Ron Paul.
That would be great. Yeah, I heard they've been giving, JD Vance gave a shout out to Ron Paul on the Tim Dillon podcast. So we'll see.
Which is our most trusted news source.
Our most trusted news source, Tim J. Dillon.
Yeah. That in War Mode, by the way. Shout out Bohemian Grove for the merch.
Oh, yeah. Thanks for the merch. I got a dope War Mode sticker
Our most trusted news sources are Tim Dillon and War Mode.
Yeah. Unfortunately, which just shows we're not super well versed in about anything. But yeah, so it's looking like maybe here comes the economic collapse, and even the Avengers won't be able to help us.
Oh, damn!
So we'll see. Hopefully, they can like clean up a few things before they collapse it all. But yeah, we'll see. I mean, I've been hearing all kinds of stuff with the hurricane. So the big thing is they're saying that all these tiny little houses that flooded, that it's unlikely they're going to let them just rebuild as they were. They're going to probably force these homes to build up. And if that's the case, the checks these people are getting is not going to cover essentially building an entirely new home.
And a lot of people don't know that about Florida. This area on the West Coast is a lot of it is still old Florida. So you've got those old bungalow homes or just one level homes or ranch homes. But if it's on the water, the new law states that you have to build up. So first level can only be a garage.
Right. Not like air conditioned livable space.
Right. So then you have like these McMansions next to these small homes. And that's sort of kind of how a lot of the beach towns are. Yeah. Small homes, McMansions. Here we go.
Especially if it's a home that's been flooded before, that the insurance money it's being rumored that the insurance money is going to be kept from these people, or at least that they're not going to be able to obtain the permits for the rebuild. They're going to need to build up.
I have a question.
Sure.
Those FEMA dump trucks that you see driving around.
Yeah.
Where do they live when there's no FEMA?
They live in FEMA town. I don't know, dude.
Where is FEMA town and what's it like? What do they do there?
They just roll in federal dollars. They just
Scrooge McDuck
into federal dollars in their dump trucks when they're not. Yeah, I don't know. It's wild. I had no idea that this is how this works. Is that like if something had happened to my home, even though it's uninsured, we would have just gotten a check from FEMA. Who knew?
Yeah, so that's the thing is FEMA's cutting the checks if you're uninsured.
Oh, specifically you get it if you're uninsured.
So if you don't have so it's not just cutting a check. You can apply for a small business loan at a really low rate if you don't have home insurance.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So if you're crafty enough to do it, freaking do it, dogs.
And then just start a small business. You know what? I just lost everything. Now's a good time to
stand. A food truck.
I've always dreamed of having a food truck. Now's as good a time as any.
Yeah.
No, that's cool. It's I'm always interested to see how this stuff shakes out a year or two from now, because like right now it's still very much we're in the thick of it. It's still, people are kind of piecing together.
You know how we dabble in conspiracies?
What? No.
It's just a surface. And we haven't even talked lithium. We haven't even talked any of that kind of stuff. And because who needs to, right? And everybody heard that. Everybody heard the North Carolina thing. Everybody heard all that. The newest one I heard, I can't disclose my source.
Okay.
But my source's source was somebody who works at the county jail that said specifically that they know that hurricanes will never hit Tampa Bay directly because of MacDill Air Force Base.
I've heard that before.
You have?
Yeah, I've heard that rumor many times before, that they direct the hurricanes one way or another.
So the person was saying that they do believe in weather modification and manipulation, but they said, but it's never for nefarious reasons. It's only to keep people safe.
Mm-hmm. Well, for sure they're doing it. I'd like to hope that they're doing it to keep people safe.
Yes.
We don't know, but
who knows?
Did you ever hear that theory? It's a theory. It's not my theory. I read about it in a book. I read about it in Judy Wood's book, Where Did the Towers Go? Dr. Judy Wood. She talked about how allegedly they harnessed a hurricane that was off the coast of New York, that the power of that to use directed energy, and that's what brought down the Twin Towers.
Yeah.
And that's why you see people jumping out of the Twin Towers and they're like ripping their clothes off and like jumping out of the building, because there wasn't just like people being like, well, buildings go down, I'm just going to jump, here we go. It was like people were like scrambling to get out of the building because they were being like heated up from the inside.
From the inside, they were being cooked.
Yeah, and as somebody who's pregnant and was recently also postpartum, I get that sensation a lot.
You were going to jump out of take it all.
Yeah, where I just feel like I'm being cooked from the inside. So I get it. Oh, speaking of announcement.
I was wrong. If anybody was going to ask me to be Nostradamus, I do not know the future.
A boy. I'm having another boy.
Yeah, brother.
Having a little baby brother.
Baby brother for
We're
the brother.
We don't have a name, though, so if you have any great names, please throw them in the comments. So
Paul and Paul 2.
We talked about maybe Saul.
Paul and Saul. That's amazing. It's Saul.
We thought that was funny. We'll see. Anyway, if you guys have any name suggestions, we're open to all of them. Dad told me yesterday that he would like input on the name.
Luigi.
I said
the baby's name's Luigi.
He told me yesterday, he was like, well, I would like to have some input this time. And I was like, sure. I was like, we're open to suggestions. So like an hour or two later, I was like, what kind of names do you like? And he goes, well, we should get together and everybody will say the name they like. And then I was like, this guy is so not a lone wolf. He can't ever do just something by himself.
Never.
He wants to see what everybody else is going to do. And if they're all into it, then we can choose that name together.
Adorable.
Yeah. But I'm very curious to what he's going to pitch.
I know. I still like single syllable. I think it's strong.
Yeah, I dig it too.
I like biblical. I love Luke, but shout out to our cousin Luke. Best Luke ever. Also shout out to our friend Luke.
Other best Luke ever.
No, I love the name Luke.
So far, I like Luke too. It's top for me. So, but it's my husband. The problem is if you ever knew somebody named Luke and you don't like them. So my husband knew a Luke when he was like in early high school. They went to church together and they would hang out in church together and they were buds. But when they also went to the same high school together, but this Luke was very cool. And so when they were in high school, cool Luke wouldn't acknowledge my husband and he would like swerve him.
So he still hurt a little.
So his heart is broken a little bit by a Luke. So I think it's hard to sell him on Luke.
Yeah.
Aww. I was like, yeah, but let's look him up. Like maybe he's like very hot and cool still.
Yeah.
And that's a cool name to give your son if it's like a hot, cool guy name.
I know. I do. I love the name Luke. I think it's strong, as I love the name Paul. Strong names.
I agree. So anyway, we're at an impasse at the moment because I'm fighting a broken heart with my husband. So we'll see. We'll see what it ends up being. But
Fair.
right now I'm gunning for Luke. But if you guys have any suggestions, we'll take them, like I said, because we're not sold.
I know. So it's been a wild few weeks. I was gone.
You were gone.
Was gone.
You out to the West Coast.
I did go out to the West Coast. I was supposed to go for a shorter time than I ended up staying. I ended up staying for a long time. That's why we paused a little bit on the pod.
Yeah.
I went out to the West Coast. I surfed a little.
That's nice.
Came back and tested for radiation. That's what happens when you surf.
Fukushima, baby.
Fukushima, baby. And especially, where we surfed there in San Onofre, where you had gone, where they have like the longboarding section and all that.
Yeah.
Well, apparently there's a military base and they have buried like nukes under there. So it permeates into the waters.
It just leaks a little bit.
And every time I come back, every time I go see the functional medicine doctor, and they're like, "You are testing for radiation."
And you're like, worth it,
baby.
Hit the waves.
So I'm currently taking some binders. They say you can take some charcoal for that, and it'll kind of push it out the system.
Yipes.
Yeah. So I'm on a nice protocol, Terrence Howard style, like.
Wow. Okay. Well, I know you had a nice little time there in California.
It was
my
a nice
household.
time.
We had hand, foot, and mouth.
So different experiences.
Very
Worlds
different
collide.
experience. Very different experience.
Worlds
around
collide.
here. Yeah. Hand, foot, and mouth. And now my son's hands and feet are just like, the skin is just like falling off of them.
Leprosy.
Yeah. It's crazy. It's crazy.
Crazy.
Also, he doesn't go to daycare. I have no idea how he got it.
I know. But we've learned this too with kids. Every sickness and illness is a maturation process.
Yeah. And
where they get stronger.
Callan had said specifically that skin-based illnesses for children happen because their body is growing, and so their skin, that large organ, is also growing at such a rapid pace, and so that these are just kind of like expressions to get
to
push it out, essentially. Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
He's a gorgeous baby.
He is, but not. He's had like a Beetlejuice like splash on the side of his face from the hand, foot, and mouth.
Is there a vaccine for that?
Not hand, foot, and mouth, but it is a cousin of chickenpox, which they do have a vaccine for.
Excellent. Here's the thing about those, though, is did you hear about Bill Gates, Netherlands?
No. Oh. No, I've been knee deep in hand, foot, and mouth around here.
Okay, so the Netherlands are going after, they've been trying to, apparently for over a year, to go after for the shots not being safe or effective.
Yeah, they went
but they
hard.
Promised us.
They went hard at the EU about like Pfizer and Moderna.
It's just confusing because they said it was safe and effective. And they convinced 80% of the country to do it. And 80% maybe even of the world to do it.
Yeah.
But now they've come back and said it's not. And a judge has said, hey, they went and served Mr. Gates over here in the US, and they also served the CEO of Pfizer.
I love that.
Isn't that great?
Polina, I will watch that footage. I love Dutch accents. I will watch the hell out of that footage. And their little Dutch shoes. I will watch the hell out of that, dude.
I know. They probably bike to trial, and
then they just clap, clap, clap into court. I can't wait.
I hope so.
That's great. I know. Is that for real? You think that that's something that they can really pinch him?
Yeah.
And why Bill Gates? Just because he was like leading the charge about the safeness and the effectiveness
of it.
Got it. Okay.
I think so.
There should be, I would argue, some punishment to going on TV and telling people lies.
I saw RFK say this recently, is that Bill Gates is one of those guys who's figured out like philanthropy as a way to stay very, very rich. You know how rich people know how to stay rich?
Yeah.
Through philanthropy and stuff. So you do that is you make it seem like this is all for the good of the world, and you fund a documentary about yourself on Netflix, and then Dad's calling us and being like, "Pie, Bill Gates, what a guy! He's a genius."
You're like, did you catch the documentary that just came out on Netflix? That makes sense. You know what? I will say this. I think that if hopefully, they can actually pin something on him, because if the idea is that he's going to get in trouble for just saying that things are safe and effective when they aren't, could get you and maybe you and me, people who talk on the internet, in a little bit of trouble.
We're entertainment. We are not a news source by any means. We are a comedy podcast only.
But we do like to share the things that we're recently interested in.
Absolutely.
Maybe that's what it was, is that he was like very recently interested in the COVID vaccine. And he was just wanting to share that.
Yeah, he was riffing.
He was just riffing on CNN.
He was working on a bit.
Yeah, he was just, getting it out, So I don't want to
Yeah, anybody should be able to say anything.
I agree.
But I think the clincher here is the forced vaccinations.
Yes, the forced thing. I don't care for that.
I think that's where they're getting into trouble.
Yes. When I almost lost my job. Yeah, I don't care for that.
Do you remember? Yeah,
I don't care for that.
So apparently you were not alone there. It wasn't just in this country either. It was a lot of countries.
That's wild.
They forced vaccinated a lot of people. Harvard just posted an article in the last like week or so about saying like, hey, we really have to look into these vaccines. I got that. What's that disease called? Ghislaine Barr,
Guillain-Barre or whatever.
Yeah,
yeah.
So like apparently a ton of people got that from the shots.
Yeah, there's a lot of what do they call those? The ones where you just get them forever.
Autoimmune disease.
Yeah, autoimmune.
Yeah,
just those secretive forever diseases.
Yes.
Autoimmune.
Yeah.
You up big time.
So, but what they've been doing is they've been burying that kind of information and not letting it come to the top. And they're like, hey, we're not. And even these people are like, we're not anti-vaxxers in any sort of way. What we're saying is we legitimately got sick off of this one.
Yeah.
Can we look into at least making them safe and effective?
You always start there. Okay. You always, at the top, you're always like, look, not an anti-vaxxer, just a little curious. And then fast forward a few years and then you're a full-blown anti-vaxxer and then you just announce it to people everywhere you go.
Yeah.
It doesn't, you never start that way.
Yeah, I know. That's always how it is, right?
You never start that way, but then you're just casually talking to people.
But it's the
brunch.
health thing too that we've talked about. You start with the food and you're like, I want to pay a little bit more money for food that's not poisoned.
Sure.
Right? That seems fair. I just want to have not poisoned food. Mm-hmm. And you start with that and then you just keep peeling back the layers. Next thing you know, you are lathering up in tallow and maybe you go on a date and you ask them to sniff your arm and you smell like a burger.
Mm-hmm. And it's no big.
It's not that big of a deal.
And maybe you permanently stain all of your clothes with your beef tallow. It's no big.
I know. So it goes deep.
Well, I didn't know about this Bill Gates thing. I do remember that there were some Dutch politicians at the EU kind of going hard about the manufacturers of the vaccines. But I'm really, really curious to see how this stuff shakes out. Those are countries where they're not so tied to
the pharmaceutical agendas. Yeah.
Right. So I'm curious to see what actually
But it's not just the agenda. It's so weird to even understand politics. The older you get, you're like, wait, what? So the pharmaceutical companies donate to all the political campaigns, but then in turn, as a repayment, it's only just like an initial upfront investment. Mm-hmm. Then as a repayment, they're like, we're going to take all the tax dollars and then buy your product. It's so bizarre.
Yeah.
I mean, bizarre. It's a brilliant business model, right?
Sure. Speaking of business models, I heard you learned a little bit about
the blue zones.
Yeah.
Brother, first of all, I've been into health for a really long time. Yeah. And you only know what you know, right?
Sure.
And in high school, the best way that I was getting my health information, this was before the Dr. Oz show, was the Oprah Winfrey show. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And Oprah Winfrey, many years...
let me get some health data from that overweight woman, that overweight billionaire.
I'm getting all my other news from fucking Tim Dillon and War Mode.
Okay,
so
you're right.
So what have I done, right?
Yeah, about
so what have I done here? So, I find somebody I like and I go with it. Sure. And I let them, I let them feed me the info.
So wait, you first heard of the Blue Zones on Oprah?
On Oprah, Dan Buettner was on and they talked about 5 areas. And I remember because I put those 5 areas on my list and I was like, that's when I started saying, I want to retire to Costa Rica. Mm-hmm. So Blue Zones were Dan Buettner. He started this, I guess it was like a study where what they did is they looked up where in the world do the most people who live over 100 years old live?
Centarians or whatever.
Centarians. Yeah. Where do the most centarians live? So they went and like any research data, you go and you pull records. So you pull records from all the countries and you find out who has the most people that live over 100. So the 5 zones were Nicoya, Costa Rica, Sardinia, Italy, mm-hmm. a place in Ikaria, maybe, Greece, mm-hmm. Okinawa mm-hmm. in Japan, and Loma Linda, California, which has the most Seventh-day Adventists. I thought, what is it that these people are doing? Mm-hmm. And the thing is, they were trying to find a common thread. Why do more people live to 100 in these areas? So their whole thing was, it's diet, it's lifestyle. They're like, oh, it's probably a Mediterranean diet or more fish, sunshine, connection, community, mm-hmm. all this other kind of stuff. All that stuff kind of rang true to me, right? Sunshine, clean whole foods, community, sense of purpose, mm-hmm. all of that seemed to make sense. The problem is, it was false. It turned out those 5 areas actually had the highest pension fraud. Ooh, brother, who even knew you could do this? Apparently, if your 100-year-old grandma dies and you just don't tell anybody,
report it,
you can keep collecting her check.
Ooh.
So as it turns out,
scammers.
Specifically, Okinawa, Japan came out like 10 years ago, and I want to say maybe even Italy, and they were like, hey, we did some digging. We turned out 80 or 90% of these people that said they were alive are dead.
No,
People were collecting checks, and
you know what?
The blue zones are fake.
That's a bummer.
Scam zones.
Scams.
Welcome to the scam zone.
Honestly, impressive, but also very impressive, especially like once the blue zone data came out, and you know that in Okinawa, they're like,
So here's the thing too, is they're like, I think it started with Okinawa because they were like, that's not true. They're like, in fact, like the age of how old people are living to Okinawa is going down. I was like, that makes a little more sense considering Fukushima is right there, right? That people aren't actually living that long.
Yeah. And the microplastics in the fish.
Right. So that started coming out more and more and more. And then somebody did just a little bit more digging, and it is false.
Bummer.
Brother, what else? What is real?
Yeah. Oh.
Scam zone.
Loma Linda, California.
So that's the biggest thing. Oh, that's the clincher of this. So the Seventh-day Adventists bought the rights or something to the blue zone whole idea so that they could hang their hat on and be like, yeah, dude, we're the best.
We're living
Check us
longer. We love the Lord.
Exactly. And this
we go
is
to
why.
church on Saturday.
We're vegetarians. We dance. And
church on Saturday.
Church on Saturday. And that's what they do. That's kind of like, I think those are, if you're to be a Seventh-day Adventist, you dance, you don't eat meat.
You go to church in a shopping mall, in a strip mall.
On a Saturday.
Yeah.
That's the biggest thing. So they are doubling down, and they're like, no, we live longer. But it turns out it's not true. It's not true. Also, that would make sense too, because the whole like vegetarian veganism thing has come out of being like,
yeah, not actually the best thing for you.
Yeah.
I know. I feel like I'm still undoing all that tofu that I ate in my 20s. I know.
Soy boy.
I was a soy boy. I was a full-blown soy boy, and now I'm like just now undoing it. Our brother's been on this like really intense diet for the last.
I'm sorry, real quick. That could be the name of your autobiography. I was a soy boy.
I was a soy boy. So our brother's been on this like really intensive diet for his health and stuff for the last year or two, and he told me
revolutionized.
Yeah, big time. He told me yesterday that he ate almond flour pancakes with monk fruit syrup, and he said it was a life-changing event because he's not had anything like even resembling a carbohydrate in like 2 years.
Yeah,
and I was like, honestly, I laughed so hard because I was like, that's like when I was a vegetarian and I would eat fake meat, and I'd be like, it's just the same.
Yeah,
it's basically the same thing.
No, man, he is up. Can I tell you? He called me last night and was telling me about the benefits of like marine collagen every day, MCT oil. Dope. He's like, you got to get this in your diet every day. It's great. I'm not taking any collagen or MCT oil.
No, I'm not either. I worry about the powders, you know?
I do
I worry
too.
about the high metals in the powders.
I do too.
And in general, when I'm pregnant, I try not to eat anything with too much consistency, except for like, you know, eggs, milk, that kind of stuff. I try not to eat anything processed with any kind of consistency in the case that like in 50 years from now, it comes out that it like, I don't know, turned my kid into like a turbo frog or something. I don't know. You know, have you ever seen the stuff about like when they gave women pills for like morning sickness?
Yeah.
And it turned their kids into like little monsters?
Yeah.
That kind of stuff.
At the very least. Yeah.
It killed them or turned them into monsters.
Why does my algorithm keep feeding me? What's mesothelioma?
I have no idea. Do you want to Google it?
Yeah, it keeps asking me if I want to be part of a class action lawsuit for mesothelioma.
It thinks you have mesothelioma.
I don't even know why it might think that.
I can't wait to see what about this
honestly,
illness
I want to say I thought mesothelioma was something about if you have a mesh implant or something. Mesothelioma. It's also a region in Iraq, it looks like.
Nice.
Hold on a second. Mesopotamia. I'm sorry. Mesopotamia is
different.
In Iraq.
Different.
Yeah. Mesothelioma. Lawsuit. Qualify for compensation. Treatment. Stage 1. More than 30 billion is available. Oh, asbestos.
Mesothelioma is what you get when you've been exposed to asbestos?
Yeah, a tumor of the tissue that lines the lung, stomach, heart, and other organs.
Oh. Probably because they know you flip homes. You just got the Nostradamus of what's to come.
Oh my God.
Your mesothelioma is on the horizon.
Speaking of, we've talked about this. Everybody knows that when you talk about something, your phone listens and then it'll feed you with the ad. But have you thought of something and the phone feeds you something and you've never Googled it and you haven't said it out loud? You just kept it inside your head?
Yeah.
But it knew?
Yeah, I think it's like a predictive thing. Yeah, they can it's like they can predict what's next.
Yeah, so it's apparently it always goes back to MK Ultra. It's apparently like an offshoot of that programming, where it knows. So it goes off of like just possibly if you research something and it runs it through algorithms and they're like so many other people at this, then that's what you're thinking of.
Yeah, there's an improv game that my team used to do. Shout out Tuna.
Tuna.
That we used to do where you would go around
once
the circle.
Luna, then Tuna.
Yeah, if we were Luna, we had to lose the name, became Tuna. So we went around, like what we would do is we'd line up in a circle as like the last thing we would do before we like left to go do a show. We would line up in a circle and we would go person to two people would like stand and stare at each other and they would say a word at the same time, any word that they wanted to say at the same time. And then the next two people would try to, based on those two words, get to a common word. Does that make sense?
Give me an example.
Let's do 1, 2, 3 and we'll say a word. Okay. 1, 2, 3. Banana. Gay. You said gay?
Yeah.
Okay, and I said banana. Okay, we're gonna do it again. Okay. Ready? 1, 2, 3.
Flower.
Penis. You take the two words that were just said, and then you kind of try to find something that goes together. And with gay and banana, you thought flower.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, it's gonna be a long game between you and I. But in theory, you go around the circle, and then two people eventually get to the same word, and they say the same word at the same time. Does that make sense?
Oh wow. Yeah, I like those improv games, Ange. I feel like it gets the juices of the brain really flowing.
It's fun. It's really fun.
The idea is that like forming new neural pathways, or what is the science behind the improv stuff?
I don't have the science behind it, but I think part of it is just the nature of saying yes and like the open to possibilities part.
Yeah.
Right? So and like the fun that can be had when you just are open.
Okay, because you said banana, then you said penis because a penis is like a banana.
You said gay, I said banana, so I said penis. You know?
Oh, yeah.
Gay, banana, penis. Look, it's not crazy. It's a little closer than flower.
I know, but flower could be like a euphemism.
Euphemism?
Mm-hmm. Is a mism or nism?
Mesothelioma.
Mesopotamia.
Yeah, about the same.
Is Mesopotamia even real?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
It still exists? It's a present day city?
I think it's like present day, like Iraq and like it's that area.
Oh my God. I know we're not supposed to talk about Love is Blind because nobody cares.
We're not doing it. We're not doing it.
Love is Blind, Habibi.
I'm not watching Love is Blind, Habibi.
Habibi. Iraqis are so gorgeous.
Look, they're all beautiful in the Middle East. I don't doubt that. But I am not. You already gave me the rundown. They don't live together. Mm-hmm. They don't kiss. Mm-hmm. And everything is for Allah.
Yeah, that's the most beautiful part. Everything is praising Allah, thank Allah. I love all of it. They love God so much. But you know what I also kind of like is strong jealousy. Yeah, you do appreciate whatever is happening in the Middle East and their jealousy over their women. I don't know what it is. One of the girls said that she belly dances and they were so in love and the guy had to end it. He's like, nobody's going to have a wife who dances. And she's like, homie, I dance. That's what I do. And he's like, you're never going to find a man. Wow. And did she land anybody on the show? No, because they were already engaged at that point. They had to call off the engagement. Whoa. Because she refused to give up belly dancing. She completely covered her belly, by the way. Just had some coins around the midsection. Yeah, that was unacceptable. Did a little shaky. Another guy got really mad at his fiance because she said she wanted to go on a bachelorette party. And he said, not only have you embarrassed yourself, you've embarrassed your family. By wanting to go on a bachelorette party. And he just kept saying, he's like, apologize. She said, I'm so sorry. He said, apologize to your family. Brother, I could never. That would be so upset watching this. I would be so upset. I know, but they all look like Princess Jasmine and Aladdin. I was at the zoo on Sunday and there was a completely covered woman and her husband, presumably her husband, wearing just like shorts and like a very low cut t-shirt. And I'm just like, okay. What is happening? He can show the cash and prizes, but she can't. I'm getting full chest hair blowing in the wind. I do love chest hair. And she is just completely covered and it is 1 billion degrees in Florida. That's how this works. Speaking of, so we went to the zoo and my son, he doesn't care about anything. We're like looking at like elephants. Is this where the Tiger King tigers are? No, that's like that's actually somewhere in like Missouri, I think. But we have the one here in Florida. No, isn't the woman Carol Baskin? Carol Baskin. That's the big cat rescue, I think. But that's here in Florida too. So this was the official Tampa Zoo. Oh. So we go to the zoo and
there's these white birds, these ibis, that are like all over the place. They're in your front yard, they're in your backyard. It's like no big deal. They are in all of the enclosures, and it's the only thing my son can point out. He goes, "Dee!" every time he sees one, and I'm like, "There's an elephant." And he's like, "Dee!" I'm like, "There's literally like an orangutan doing like monkey bars," and he doesn't care at all because he just sees the little white ibis.
That's so
in the enclosure.
sweet.
So
That picture you sent me, it looked like Africa.
yeah, it's Tampa. Who knew? I know. Who knew?
I didn't know it was so vast. I
had no idea
I thought
either.
zoos meant they're like behind cages and stuff. What you sent me seemed like the Great Plains or something. It was.
It's not that big.
Okay.
But yeah, it was bigger than I thought it was. I've never been to the Tampa Zoo. I personally don't care for zoos.
This is Lowry Park Zoo?
Yeah, but they call it's called Zoo Tampa at Lowry Park now. They rebranded, baby.
Oh.
I'm not quite sure.
Okay.
So we did go see the penguins because I wanted to go see the penguins. And
They mate for life.
it's so sweet. Oh, it's so sweet. So we went to go see the penguins because I thought my son would be into the penguins. He's got a penguin doll. You know, obviously he's big on birds. So we thought he'd be into the penguin. He kind of was, but the problem is I didn't get to enjoy the time with him at the penguins because there was a woman there.
A woman?
Who had a jazzy scooter that scooted up to the penguins and then went full autistic on me, telling me about the penguins, their names. Oh. She's like, that one's Rocky. She was just like,
She's probably a season pass holder.
Clearly. And then she was telling me how I needed to pay for the additional excursion to meet the penguins. That's worth it.
Okay.
And then she just kept telling me about penguins and then about a movie about penguins that I should watch. I mean, she just full blown.
March of the Penguins.
Not that. It was a different movie about penguins. I would have assumed March of the Penguins too. No, this is a deeper cut movie about penguins.
Okay.
But she literally just sat there next to me, opened up, and just jabberjawed everything she knew about penguins. And I was like, lady, this is a finite amount of time where I get to experience my son's first time at the zoo. I didn't come here to chat with you. And everything you know about penguins.
Yeah.
It was it's very rude. It's very rude when somebody just corners you and tells you everything they know.
It's a smidge of the tism.
It's a big time tism. And then she just hopped back on her jazzy and just whoop to the next enclosure.
Yeah.
Probably just do the same thing about another animal to somebody else.
Again, though, if it was a subject that you were interested in, you might not mind it.
You know, if I didn't have my son with me, then maybe I would have been like, oh, cool. Yeah, I didn't know that. Sure. But I'm trying to watch his wonder and amazement at them.
That's
and
the
instead
best part.
my attention's pulled elsewhere the entire time, you know?
Jazzy chair.
Yeah.
What a funny thing that is.
This is the best part. Sorry. This is the best part. She had her phone and she just held it out and she was just taking nonstop video of them too. So she just was taking like a 37-minute video on her phone of the penguins.
So she can go home and then also rewatch it.
I'm assuming, I hope she's going to rewatch. Otherwise, that's just comically
that kind
wasteful.
of reminds me of when people videotape.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. Record fireworks.
What are we doing?
Are you ever going to watch that?
No.
Are you ever going to watch that?
No.
I know.
I couldn't believe she was doing it. It wasn't even like a good angle or anything. It was just like a very sloppily.
Yeah.
Just going to study it maybe when she gets home. I'm not sure, but it seemed insane to take a video that long of the penguins. Anyway, other than that, the zoo was kind of fine. I was surprised.
That was it. Hurricanes. I went to Cali. You got hand, foot, and mouth disease.
I did not. My son did.
Right. Zoos. Bill Gates is going on trial.
We're having a boy.
The blue zones are fake.
Tampa Zoo's kind of nice, but
there's an election coming up next week.
Yeah.
I'm still not going to vote. Worlds collide. What's up?
Holding strong.
Not going to vote.
Holding strong.
But it looks like Trumpito's got it.
I mean, you hear it. You've heard it here first. Trump's got it.
Trump's got it.
Yeah, I don't think there's a chance that it's anything else.
But
you also heard it here first. The economic collapse is coming.
Yeah. I didn't watch the Rogies interview, but I heard that that's a pretty good one.
I made it about halfway through.
Okay.
I made it about halfway
Saint
through, and
Rogies.
somehow they still talked about MMA, and I was just like, "What?
I always have to hit the plus 15 every time they talk MMA.
Stop!
I know that's part of the Rogies, Saint Rogies
universe, and I am not interested at all. But yeah, it was definitely. I'll say this: it was definitely interesting to hear a presidential candidate talk.
I didn't
for so
tell
long.
you. Somebody who owns a jiu-jitsu studio asked me to host a workshop with them.
Yogurt?
Yeah,
Cool.
I know. So maybe I'll be a little more into the MMA jiu-jitsu.
Imagine you just come in wearing a gi from now on. I hope you wear a gi for every episode moving forward.